Okay, so 3.2.6 is called discounts, and it says write a program that computes how much the user owes for parking in a particular parking garage. The garage charges $3.50 per hour. However, the maximum amount they charge is $20. So that means that if the total comes to something greater than $20, the user is still only charged $20. Okay. And then we're gonna have to follow the comments in main to ask the user how many hours they parked and compute their total. We don't have to worry about formatting the total, like rounding anything like that. We just have to worry about the logic of figuring out the total amount they owe. So let's go ahead and get started on that. So since we are making this interactive and asking the user for how many hours they were parked, we do need to create a scanner object. So I'm going to start off with that. So scanner, I'm going to call it input, and then a call to the constructor, new scanner. And we always pass in system.in to our scanner to create it. Our next step now is to actually prompt the user for how many hours they were parked. It kind of seems like honor system to me. Like you could totally just say, I just parked there for like 10 minutes. Let's see if there's a particular format. They just want you to ask, how many hours have you been parked? So I'm going to paste that in as my printed message. So that's my prompt. And now I need to actually, I'm going to add another comment here. I'm going to store the user's answer as, let's see here. It looks like they're only accepting whole hours, so as an int. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and say int, and then I'll call this hours. And then I'm just going to go ahead and call next int on my scanner object. So it's going to be input.next int. So that's going to go ahead and grab that answer from the user. And here's probably the part that you all want help on. So this is the logic part, to figure out the cost. So we know that the cost is $3.50 per hour. And if the cost is over $20, we're just gonna go ahead and set the cost to 20 since that's our maximum. Otherwise, we're just going to calculate the cost as is. So first, let's compute the cost. So I'm going to say int cost gets, so it's $3.50 per hour. So I'm going to say 3.5 times the number of hours that the person stayed in the parking lot. So that's going to be like the raw cost, right? But remember, if that cost is over $20, we want to scale it back down to 20. So here's our actual logic part. We're going to see if cost, and can any of you help me out? What should I check? What should I write here if I want to check to see if my cost is over $20? What would I write here to finish the Boolean expression? Cost is what? What would I write? You could check to see if it was less than 20, and then otherwise, convert it. But let's do it the way that they write in the comments here. So we're checking to see if it's over. Okay, if it's over, then we're going to say if the cost is greater than 20, then we're going to go ahead and reset the cost to just be $20. Okay, so that means, like, say the cost was, I don't know, $33, then we're now changing it to that maximum of 20, so that we're only charging them 20. Notice that we don't do anything to the cost if this is not true, because there's no code here that will change it. We simply now want to display the final cost. So we want to put a message like this: you owe, and then $, and then whatever the cost amount was. So let's write that message, system.out.println. We're going to put you owe space and then I'm going to concatenate, actually no, I'm going to put a $sign in there as well since that's part of that string. And no space after the $sign. Then I'm going to concatenate the cost, the calculated cost. So now it'll tell me you owe and then the cost. So let's go ahead and try that out. Oh, what did I do? Ah, this should be a double, right? So the cost should be a double. I, for some reason, put it as an int. So make sure you change that to a double because it is going to result in a decimal point number. So let's go ahead and try that again. Okay, so how many hours have you been parked? First, I'm going to go ahead and try just a small number that won't result in a cost that's over 20. So 2 times 3.5 is going to be 7, so $7. Now let's try an amount that is larger. That would, if we were paying the actual raw costs, it would definitely be over $20. So let me put 100 hours. And I still owe just $20 because of this logic here that resets it. All right, any questions on what I did in this one? Okay, so let's go ahead and move on to the next one. Let's go to, which one is it? Sweet or unsweet? Okay, so this one is a program that asks the user what they want to drink, and then they're asked how many teaspoons of sugar that they want. So we want to print out the order to confirm it, and what we want to do is we're going to print out the drink name, and then if the user wanted some sugar, so something bigger, something greater than 0 teaspoons of sugar, we'll also print with sugar next to that order. Otherwise, we will not print with sugar if it's just 0. So it says, remember to use print and print line to help you. And let's see what else. I think that's all we need to know. So let's go ahead and start this. Okay, so it says start here. You'll find it helpful to list the steps you need to take, then write the code. That's exactly what we're going to do. All right, so they've already created our scanner object for us, so we don't have to worry about that. Next thing we want to do is prompt the user for drink, what they want to drink, what they want to drink. Then we want to store that input. And this time we want it as a string because they're going to be giving us a couple, a word or two, a word or a phrase. So as a string. And then we want to go ahead and prompt the user for how many teaspoons of sugar that they want. And after they answer that, we want to store that input as an int because we are asking for whole numbers of teaspoons. Then we want to go ahead and print out the order. If teaspoons of sugar is greater than 0, also print out with sugar. Okay, so I think that's pretty much all we need to do. All right, so first step is to prompt our user for what they want to drink. So let's go system.out print line, and I'm just going to go ahead and copy this phrase, what do you want to drink? And then we want to go ahead and store that answer as a string. So string, I'm going to call it drink. And I want to get that string from our input, so I'm going to call the next line method, which gets the next line of text. And then I want to prompt the user. Let's prompt the user again for how many teaspoons of sugar that they want. So I'm going to copy this message right here. How many teaspoons of sugar do you want? Okay. So now I can go ahead and get that number that I want. So I'm going to say, well, I want it to be a whole number, so I'm going to say int, and then I'll just call it sugar. And then to get that integer out of my user input, I'm going to say next int. Next int. Okay. So now I've got my two pieces of data. I've got the drink name, and I've got how much sugar the user wants. So now I'm going to go ahead and start printing out my order. So remember how they said, remember to use print and print line to help you. So I'm going to use just a print statement, not a print line statement, because I'm going to start out with just the drink. And then if the amount of sugar was greater than 0, I want to go ahead and put that with sugar phrase right next to it. So using a print statement, a plain print statement instead of print line will let me do that. So I'm going to put, let's see, how do they want us to format this? Oh, okay, confirming your order you wanted. Okay, well, this line, it looks like we're going to print this regardless. So I'm going to go ahead and add another print statement up here. This one will be a print line because if you look at this, it prints confirming your order, period, space, you wanted, colon, and then on a new line, it'll print the drink name. So let's do that. So confirming your order, you wanted, and then in this print statement, I'm going to go ahead and just going to print out the drink name. So I just need to put the variable name in there, no quotation marks, okay? All right, now I want to check to see if the amount of sugar is greater than 0, the amount of sugar that the user requested. So what is the Boolean expression that I want to put inside of these parentheses to check to see if the amount of sugar requested was more than 0 tablespoons? What should I put in between these parentheses? Yeah, so I want to put sugar greater than 0. Okay, so if that is true, I want to go ahead and print out, with sugar next to my drink. So I'm going to add a space first so that the with sugar isn't like right up against the drink name. And then with sugar, like that. All right, so I think we are ready to test this out. Let's try it. Okay, so what do you want to drink? Let's go ahead and just put, well, let's put the same thing, green tea. I like green tea. And then I typically don't drink sugar, so I'm going to start off with the 0, so we should not see the with sugar. So confirming your order, you wanted green tea. Okay, so let's try this again. Let's try it now with coffee. And let's say I want 2 teaspoons of sugar. So this time I should see the message with sugar next to my order. So now you see that right here. So coffee with sugar. And that is possible because we're using this conditional to check to see the amount of sugar if it is greater than 0. And if it is, we're going to go ahead and add on with sugar next to our order. Otherwise, it's going to bypass this line and it'll just print out the drink without that with sugar message. All right, so let's check that code. Make sure we did everything that they wanted us to do. Yep. All right.